Chapter 33. Shoyo hadn't slept, and he couldn't convince his legs to get out of the car and walk into the studio. He hadn't seen any of these people since his father's death, or since Kei had sent that tweet, outing them to the whole world. He imagined everyone would want to express their condolences first, followed by their congratulations on his relationship with Kei. Fuck. What was he going to do? Get your shit together, he whispered to himself, and keep it together. The last episode had been kept a secret, so he didn't even know what to expect. Would he have to kiss Kei? Perform another love scene? He couldn't do it. He'd break down in the middle of the scene, cry his eyes out right then and there, beg Kei for forgiveness in front of everyone. He couldn't do it. Just as he was putting the car in reverse, Yachi opened his door. Her eyes scanned the car, but she didn't question why Shoyo was driving a rental, thank God. Hey, they've already started the table read. Kei was worried. He sent me to find you. He did? Yeah, I have a cart. Come on. It was slow going, but Shoyo collected his things and locked up his car. He sat next to Yachi and held on tight, knowing Yachi would take the corners at full speed. How are you doing? Kei said you two had a wonderful time in Napa. God. Apparently, Kei was already in full-on acting mode. Shoyo forced a smile. Yeah, it was great. Good. You needed it after. You know. Yachi looked at him and frowned. Sorry for bringing it up. It's okay. Shoyo grabbed his stomach as they raced around the last corner and lurched to a stop. He took a breath, trying to fight the nausea he'd had all morning. You look gray. Are you sure you're okay? I didn't drive too fast. Did I? Yachi was such a sweetheart. Shoyo couldn't do anything but smile. Would you mind getting me a cup of tea for the reading? Nice and hot? Sure. Give me your stuff and I'll put it in Kei's trailer. Shoyo handed over his tote bag. He took a deep breath and let it out slowly as he walked into the studio. Some of the crew were there, milling around. A few of them greeted him with a gentle hug and offered their condolences. He managed not to cry. By the time he reached the conference room, his lip was quivering but he held strong as he opened the door. Everyone went silent as they turned and looked at him. He forced a smile. Hey, everyone. Thanks for delaying so I could bury my father. He had to get the words out fast or he wouldn't be able to say them at all. Of course. Dan stood up and gave him a hug. Kei said it was a beautiful tribute to a good man. I'm sorry we all couldn't be there for you. And then, he felt the tug of Kei's arm as it wrapped around his shoulder and pulled him close. And soft lips gently kissing his temple. And two words spoken in his ear. Hey, babe. Babe? Definitely not something Kei had ever called him before. The arm wrapped around his shoulder felt real. The kiss felt real. But that pet name, not real. Shoyo kept his eyes down. Hey, he still couldn't look at Kei. Didn't want to look at Kei. Because then, he'd know for sure how fake this little scene was. Everyone quickly got back to business. A few minutes in, Shoyo was relieved to see that there would be no love scenes. Not even a kiss. And it turned out that the tall guy sitting across the table from him would be playing Colin's ex-boyfriend. They were going to end the season with a great big cliffhanger, which everyone was excited about. Everyone. Except Kei. It seemed, even though he was only using his peripheral vision, Shoyo could tell Kei's expression hadn't changed much through the read. Just a hint of a smile to placate everyone. Shoyo imagined. He couldn't take it anymore. Shoyo had to look. He had to see Kei's eyes. Even though he didn't think he'd find anything real there. He waited until everyone was preoccupied with a story Dan was telling. And then he slowly turned to him. Kei was looking at Dan. But his gaze fell to the table. And then slowly to Shoyo. Pain. That's all Shoyo saw. He couldn't help himself. He reached for Kei's hand and held it tight. I didn't betray you. He wanted to scream. I love you. But the moment was lost. Chairs were pushed out and jokes were made. JJ made his way over to them. And Kei pulled his hand away. We're on a tight schedule because of the delay. So we're going to go ahead and shoot some scenes today. I hope you got the message? They both nodded and he put his hand on Shoyo's shoulder. I lost my dad last year. So I know what you're going through, kid. Just hang in there and eventually, the pain will subside. Shoyo gave him a grateful smile. Thanks. JJ. Someday, you'll have to tell me about your dad. We'll hang out and do just that, he said with a wink. Thank God you have Kay to hold you up. My wife was my saving grace that day. And every day since. Shoyo pursed his lips together, trying to fight back the tears. He gave him a quick nod. And luckily, he walked away before the first tear fell. Kay's hand landed on his knee. But he pushed it away. You don't have to do that, he said, standing up. Shoyo looked at him. He saw empathy in his eyes. He didn't need empathy. His dad was dead. So fucking what? That hadn't mattered to Kay yesterday when he kicked him out. I know this is all just for show. I'll do my part. Shoyo rushed out of the room, tears streaming down his face. He needed to get somewhere private. And fast. He couldn't go to Kay's trailer. He couldn't go to the dressing room he shared with 3 other people. He turned a corner and saw a door. Having no idea where it went, he pushed through it and landed in an alley. An empty alley. He wanted to scream out the pain and sob until he had no more tears left. But that would bring unwanted attention. He slid down the wall, landing on his butt, and covered his face with his hands. Silent tears would have to do. Yachi opened the trailer door. Found him. He's in the back alley where people take their smoke breaks. Kay took off his reading glasses and stood up. He's crying Kay. Hard. Kay pushed past her and Yachi followed closely behind. The new guy was headed toward the door with a pack of cigarettes in his hand. Kay stopped him. Hey, can I have one of those? Yachi watched in horror as the new guy gave Kay a cigarette and also his lighter. Oh, God. Everything's going to hell in a handbasket. Kay lit the cigarette and handed the lighter back. Don't be so dramatic, Yachi. And make sure we have some privacy. Kay pushed the heavy door open. And Yachi stood in front of it, blocking the new guy. Sorry. It's going to be a minute. He rolled his eyes and walked away. Kay leaned against the wall and took a long drag and then another. Thanks for showing up today. I don't know how I would have been able to explain what's happened after I'd lied all morning. Telling them everything is great. It had been a hellish morning. Dealing with everyone's questions about their new, budding relationship. Kay had lied through his teeth over and over. And when Shoyo finally walked through the door, a huge sense of relief washed over him because at least now he wouldn't be alone in the lie anymore. It was such a mixed bag of emotions he was feeling. His love for Shoyo hadn't diminished. Only his trust. And yet, somehow that was still there. To an extent. Even after the big betrayal. He had a feeling that Shoyo would come through for him. And he had been right. Since when do you smoke? Shoyo asked, keeping his eyes on his shaky hands. I used to smoke. It was a stupid kid thing. Defying the parents' bullshit. I quit years ago. Kay flicked the ashes and offered it to Shoyo. No thanks. Shoyo laid his head back against the wall. His eyes were red and puffy. Too red to work, Kay thought. He wondered what the hell they'd do about that. Laura was good, but she wasn't that good. I guess this was always the risk. Wasn't it? Someone finding out the truth? Kay paused long enough to take another drag. I never should have listened to Tadashi. We both knew it was a shitstorm just waiting to happen. Kay chuckled and then coughed. God. Now I remember why I quit. He flicked the cigarette away. Shoyo pushed himself up the wall and brushed off his butt. Let's get this stupid episode over with. Kay reached for his arm. His hand sliding down to Shoyo's wrist. And then what? I'm going back to New York. I still have to deal with my dad's apartment. And Tobio. He had flings. Kay kept hold of Shoyo's wrist. Tobio admitted it to me at the funeral. He hasn't been pining away for you all this time. It's all just a game with him. Kay didn't want Shoyo getting back with Tobio. Just to keep him quiet. There had to be a better way. He just hadn't come up with it yet. I never thought he was pining away for me, Kay. He broke up with me. Remember? I'm just saying. Shoyo pulled his hand away. I don't know what your point is. But as long as we're giving each other advice on love, you should probably know that Jean Strong kissed me. Yeah. He took me outside at Nobu and laid one right on me. What the hell? You said it was a French actress who kissed you. I lied. I didn't want it to be a big deal. And then you revealed your true feelings for him. So I couldn't really tell you. Now could I? Fuck. That cut a little too deep. If Shoyo was trying to hurt Kay, he'd just succeeded. What else have you lied about? Fuck you, Kay. Shoyo made a move to leave. But he stopped suddenly and pushed Kei up against the wall, holding him there by the arms. I never lied to you about anything else. All I did was take care of you. I saw to your every need. And I was loyal. And then fell in love with you. You're the one who fucked it up. Kei. And now, you get to live with it. Kei winced. My arm, Sho. You're hurting my arm. Shoyo immediately let go and backed up. His chest was heaving, his expression one of anger and regret. You don't get to throw me away. Kei. Not so easily. As if I never meant anything to you. It makes you no different than Tobio. And it means I can't trust you to let me make whatever sin I've committed right. Shoyo sucked in air, feeling like he was going to hyperventilate. You have no idea the damage you've done. I didn't even know it until right this second. I was hurt. Kei reached for him, but Shoyo stepped out of his reach. You told Tobio about us for God's sake. Shoyo shook his head. No, I didn't. He dug through my suitcase and found the contract. And why was the contract in my suitcase in New York? Because you'd decided my moving out might be a good idea. Just toss me aside whenever you damn well feel like it. Kei crumpled against the wall. I'm sorry. I'm sure you are. And so am I. About all of this. I never should've. Shoyo sucked in air. I never should've let myself feel something for you. I should've stuck to the contract. No romantic interactions. No sex. Fuck. Shoyo kicked a coffee can that people had used as an ashtray. They both silently watched the ashes fly. Kei finally found his voice. Not sure what to say next. No. Shoyo turned back around. I'll fulfill the terms of the contract. We can pretend we're together for a while longer. But then we're done. You think you can't trust me? Well, guess what? I can't trust you either. Kei tried to reach for him again. Just give me a second. This couldn't be the end of them. God. Why did Kei have to react so harshly? Why was his first reaction in any stressful situation to push people as far away as possible? Make them feel worthless? My father died. Shoyo glared at him with a look so full of pain. It crushed Kei. I have no one now. Did you not consider what losing you so soon after losing him would do to me? Kei went pale. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't good enough. Shoyo opened the door. It slammed shut behind him. Shoyo stood on his mark and adjusted his blazer. JJ stood in front of him. Laura performed her magic. You look great, he reassured him. She's a miracle worker. Shoyo's hair was pulled back and he was wearing his black glasses. Laura's solution to the bloodshot eyes. Let's roll, people. JJ sat in his chair in front of the monitor and waited for the marker. And, action. Colin stepped up to Leo's assistant's desk. Is he here? I got a text saying he didn't need a ride this morning. Lisa pointed at her own arm. The cast came off today. He's like a new man. I swear. I mean, when does he ever get me coffee when he gets his own? Never? Colin guessed as he stared into Leo's office. Until today. I almost fell off my chair. The door opened and an older gentleman walked out with Leo right behind him. Thanks for the heads up. Leo, I owe you one. And you know I always collect Jim. Lisa stood up. I'll walk you out, Mr. Jensen. Leo watched them until they were out of sight. My office, Colin. He walked back into his office. Close the door, please. So no more cast? He closed the door behind him. Just the sling. And only if my arm gets tired. Leo stood behind his desk. Looking pensive. Colin, can I talk first? Leo nodded. The other night shouldn't have happened. I know that. Leo shook his head. No, it shouldn't have. But it did. And it was amazing. And when I got your text this morning. Colin, stop. Leo held onto his desk with his fingertips to steady himself. I apologize for what happened between us. You're my employee and it was highly inappropriate of me to behave in such a manner. Do you regret it? Colin asked. Barely above a whisper. Do you regret sleeping with me? Leo remained stoic. His head held high. I regret putting either of us in that position. You didn't. Colin took a step forward. I kissed you. I'm the one who started it. Stop. Leo's gaze fell to his desk. Our time together is over. I won't be needing your services anymore. Colin frowned. So, that's it? That's all you have to say to me? Leo looked up. I hope you consider it time well spent. His voice was softer now. I hope you come away from this having learned something. Yes. I learned that Leo Harden thinks I'm disposable. Colin, Leo shouted as his office door slammed shut. And cut. Perfect fellas. One more scene and we're done. Let's move people. JJ noticed that Kay hadn't moved. He was standing dead still behind Leo's desk, staring straight ahead. He followed his line of sight and caught Shoyo just as he turned into the dressing room. You okay, Kay? He walked up to him and stood on the other side of the desk. Your hair needs to be down for the next scene. Kay's eyes met his, but he still hadn't moved. Yeah, okay. Kay never went into the dressing rooms. He always changed in his trailer. That's why every head turned when he walked in. Everyone's except Shoyo. He was chatting in the corner with the new guy. Yachi walked up to Kay. You're in casual wear for the next scene. Well, casual for Leo. Kay kept his eyes on Shoyo. Where's the outfit? In your trailer. Like always. He watched as Shoyo took off his clothes in front of everyone. God. That body. The things he did to that body in Napa. He wondered if Shoyo remembered that he had a small love bite on his stomach. Right next to his belly button. I did that. Sho? His voice wasn't working very well. It came out as more of a whisper. No one heard him but Yachi. Shoyo. Yachi said a little louder. Shoyo turned and looked. He put up a finger and then put his t-shirt and jeans on. He walked over barefoot. What's up? Yachi turned to Kay. I'll go get your clothes. Kay reached for Shoyo's hand, holding on to one finger. Just enough for some contact without forcing the issue. I get it, he whispered, barely able to hold back the tears. Shoyo's words in the alley, and the scene they'd just performed, had cut Kay to the core. He knew how deeply he'd hurt Shoyo. He also knew there might not be any coming back from it. But he had to try. Before Kay could say anything else, one of the hairdressers was pulling him away. Sorry, but I need Kay. We have to get that hair down. Don't leave, please. Shoyo didn't reply. He just stared at Kay as he was being pulled away.